How's it going, folks? Today I have a video just showing you how I made a custom Predator 212cc engine exhaust. You can go ahead and take a look at it in the back. Pretty nice, just using 3 1/4 tube out to 1/2 inch. And this is a piece of square stock, just so I could have the two exhaust tips on the end there. This is just a rough mock-up. I have yet to do all the cleaning. This is just so I could put it on there and see what she sounds like using just the stock nuts, everything. It's a rough cut, so I still got to do a lot of cleaning of that part, especially on the inside, but it sounds a bitchin'. So if you're wondering about the go-kart itself, this was constructed from a workout equipment, just this why don't you focus, camera, thank you, just a standard workout machine. I cut the tubing down and decided to make a frame, and sure enough, here we go. Go-kart out of mostly what was a workout machine, and I used a piece of steel unistrut for my front assembly to make sure these won't break off at the hubs, or the spindles for the front wheels. What's cool though is I went ahead and used all thread steel rod right here, and I used these couplings right here and welded them to a washer so you can adjust your toe in and toe out on the wheels, and that applies for both sides, so you can get a nice even adjustments. The only downside is my measurements were a bit off when I was making the custom spindles for the wheels. As you can see, I just took a bolt. I didn't have a jig, so it's kind of rough, and then a piece of steel 90, and how that plays out. But you can see the wear points on the tires that my camber is pretty off. It's cambered, I would say, in the top part of the tires, and as it's facing out, so it kind of rides like this as you're riding, and that applies for both sides. This side is not as bad. I mean, it's still pretty wear down, but this side's pretty gnarly about that. I also used all thread just for foot pegs, so you're not going to slide anywhere, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Then the steering wheel, of course, is custom with a switch, just using a bike lever, brake lever for the throttle, and you can see that works here. And what I went ahead and did is I applied a secondary spring right there, and this is just so I ensure a force feedback whenever I hit the throttle, because this standard little spring right there, get the focus, was not enough to do the justice. It's too weak, I think. So I went ahead and while I was at Harbor Freight, picked up a set of springs. It was like $5, and now I can do whatever I want with that, and make sure that this, just in case my throttle fails, I can ensure that this will snap back. Awesome. And a tip of advice: if I had a problem with my motor idling too high, which was engaging the clutch, so if you go ahead and look right here by the carburetor, that black screw right there, you can go ahead and adjust that, and that is your idle set screw for the carburetor. And also you have another mounting point for your cable there on the inside. You can see back there would be where you put your cable. I have mine running in the first one right there without any linkage or anything. This is the Hemi upgraded edition Predator 212cc. It was $170, not bad at all. Don't mind this jig here. This is just to keep the chain tensioned just a bit, just so it guides it through the sprocket as it rotates. It is pretty loud, but I just used a skateboard wheel and bearings, or actually rollerblade wheel and bearings, welded on, so it just stays in place as the chain rides. Now, that's not the smartest idea, but if you're a DIYer like myself, it's something to get you out of the way. The other thing I used were these cheap, they were $20 a piece, knobby tires, and I modified them. You see the 5-bolt pattern. I went ahead and modified them by drilling out the hole just a bit to match these hubs, these 4-bolt pattern hubs, onto a 1-inch bore axle, live axle. And you can see I have my collars right here. I modified, or I shouldn't say modified, I temporarily used these I don't know what you call them, but they're little ends that screw onto the forks of scooters, and just tacked them in place just to hold the axle on. And I attacked them for a reason, so you can grind them off, take them off in the future when you want to do any types of switching or modification, so it's not 100% welded. With the brakes, same thing. I used a bike disc brake. I went ahead and welded it onto a hub. I actually got it centered, surprisingly, and it's go ahead and see that, not crooked at all. This one, this is part of the live axle, but I took the key out of this, so it's just free riding. That way I have somewhat of a differential when I turn, so I'm not scraping this tire, and it's you have more surface control when you turn. But same setup on this side with the hub and nuts as well. I went ahead and made a custom mounts for the Harbor Freight engine. I used a piece of steel unistrut. Now keep in mind, this was just last minute thinking, and a bar that runs across. I'm going to redesign this frame, but this was all used with a steel workout equipment as the design from the frame, which is really cool because you don't see that that often, especially with the workout equipment. Here's the exhaust again, and then I used the office chair, old office chair I had laying around. If we look at the front, that's what the steering wheel looks like. Went ahead and polished those up from the paint so they're nice and shiny. There's my kill switch. It's off right now. On, off. And of course your throttle, and then your nifty brake lever to activate the brakes. Got that going. So there you have it. That's the go-kart. And if we'll go ahead and go over to what I made with the exhaust, excuse the mess, let my camera focus again. I'm using I used this as a reference, which was the stock exhaust that came on the Harbor Freight engine. I utilized the gasket that came with. Oh my gosh, focus camera. Okay, I went ahead and utilized this as a mock-up. And I used this piece of steel plating just as a hard copy, so it was easy to work with, easy to work with. So that way, I don't have to really focus on making this perfect. This was just so I can have a hard copy, so I can make it out of my final steel that I was going to use, which happened to be. If you take a look right here, this was the base. Let me see if I can find the part up here. It was the base to this. It's a mess, apologies. But there was a plate that mounted right here. It was a nice big old rectangle piece, very nice and thick. I went ahead and took off the base of the workout machine and molded that into, or not molded, crafted into a little manifold. It's a hard copy again. I see the gasket underneath there. But took that and 3 1/4 pipe. Rectangle, or excuse me, square stock, and 1/2-inch pipes. Made a nice little exhaust. So we'll go ahead and, after watching the whole video, we'll go ahead and start it up. Sounds pretty nice. It's not that bad. And I do have a lower idle, so it will idle lower than standard idling speeds. Gotta let it warm up. And there you have it. Predator 212cc exhaust mod, custom exhaust. Oh, and one more thing. If you're wondering why there's a 90 there, the bend is what causes back pressure. And for some reason, this motor loves to have back pressure for it to run properly. So if you just have literally a straight pipe that kind of curves out a little bit, it won't run as effective as what it would be with a 90 or a pretty serious bend for that back pressure. Anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video just as a demonstration for my custom exhaust mod for this completely janky rat rod go-kart, and for some reason my camera's hating me right now to focus. So stay tuned for the follow-up video of the actual driving of this go-kart.